Hey everyone, Nate here from Nate's RetroPlays. I'm coming at you with a list today, but not your typical list like top 10 or best JRPG. No, this is a different kind of list. It is a list of games that you might have possibly missed, only because they sort of flew under the radar of the bigger name titles. They aren't necessarily obscure or even rare, but definitely don't show up on a lot of people's top 10 lists. They are all games that I think are worth checking out. But before we jump into that list, please consider subscribing to my channel by hitting that button below. With that out of the way, let's jump into the list and see what you think. Please note that these games are in no particular order. Number 5. Montezuma's Revenge for the Sega Master System. Montezuma's Revenge, featuring Panama Joe for the Sega Master System, is a platforming game released in 1988. The game was developed by Robert Yeager and published by Parker Brothers. In this game, you play as the fearless explorer Panama Joe, who is tasked with trying to find Montezuma's treasure from a 16th century Aztec pyramid. This is no easy task, as the pyramid is filled with enemies, traps, and plenty of edges to fall off of. Joe must use his skills in combination with a few helper items such as swords, amulets, and torches to navigate the 99 rooms that will eventually lead you to the treasure chamber. Graphically, this game isn't anything special, and the sound doesn't do a lot you haven't heard before. Where this game does shine, though, is the gameplay. The game is simple, fun platforming and has plenty of depth to keep you coming back. The difficulty is just about right, not too hard, but also requiring some precision as you advance through the game. Number 4. Kung Fu Heroes for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Kung Fu Heroes for the Nintendo Entertainment System is a top-down action game ported from the Japanese arcade game called Super Chinese. The game was published in North America by Culture Brain in 1986. The story behind Kung Fu Heroes is that monsters have taken over the land, filled it with sorrow, and Princess Min Min has been abducted. You play as either Jackie or Lee, who are supposedly Kung Fu masters that just returned from training. You must go after the monsters, save the princess, and return happiness to the land. Gameplay is fairly basic, but that is a good thing here. You can either go at this one solo, or 2 players can join up for some great co-op action. There are at least 14 different basic enemies that you will encounter on 32 unique stages. On top of that, there are 3 different boss type levels that are periodically encountered. Gameplay is where this game really shines, and is why I would highly recommend anyone who is into fun arcade action to check out Kung Fu Heroes. Number 3. Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a run-and-gun, shoot-'em-up style game that was originally published in 1993 by Konami for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. The game was developed by LucasArts. It is a 1 or 2 player co-op style game where you are charged with saving your neighbors or just random people from the impending horde of zombies and other horror movie style creatures. The game has tons of enemies that include everything from pod people to hockey mask wearing chainsaw wielding brutes to mummies and even the Frankenstein monster. These enemies span 48 stages and are defeated with numerous, I didn't count, weapons that can be found laying around or hidden in containers in all the stages. Graphically, the game is beautifully crafted with top-notch music that sets the mood with numerous different horror-themed tunes. The sound effects are great too. The buzz of those chainsaw monsters is terrifying. Zombies' controls are fluid and smooth. The character controls well, and you can easily maneuver as you need to avoid and shoot the enemies. Overall, I highly recommend this game to just about anyone who enjoys a fun action game. It is difficult but not too hard to be enjoyed by most skill levels, and it has a nifty password system to help you pick up nearly where you left off. Number 2. Tiny Toon Adventures for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Tiny Toon Adventures for the NES is an action platformer that was developed and published by Konami in 1991. It is based on the cartoon series Tiny Toon Adventures, which ran from about 1990 to 1992. Tiny Toon Adventures was an offshoot of the Looney Tunes cartoons and was centered around a group of younger Toons who attended Acme Luniversity. The plot to the game is that Babs Bunny has been kidnapped by the evil Montana Max.
You initially start as Buster Bunny and are able to select an alternate character to play as in each level. The alternate characters all have special abilities that Buster himself doesn't have. For example, if you choose Dizzy, who is like the Tasmanian Devil, you have a spin attack maneuver that basically makes you invincible for short bursts. Plucky Duck, who is like Daffy Duck, has the ability to glide or fly a bit. Furball, who is a cat like Sylvester the Cat, can climb walls or at a minimum slide down them slowly. The controls are very responsive and feel great. You always feel like you're in control of your character, much like Super Mario games on the NES. The visuals in Tiny Toon Adventures are also really well done. The sprites and worlds are colorful and animated well. Each stage has its own theme, whether it is the starting world, which is a grass world, or later levels that include things like castles, pirate ships, or deserts. Sound and music in the game are also excellent, from the iconic Tiny Toons Adventure theme song to the boss fight music. The game's audio was given just as much attention as the visuals and controls. The only flaw I can think of is the length of the game. There are only 6 worlds, which each have about 3 stages. Although the game is difficult, it can be beat fairly quickly once you get the hang of it. Those 18 or so stages aren't very much content when compared to a game like Super Mario Bros. 3. Overall, Tiny Toon Adventures is a well-produced and fun title to play.
Number 1. Secret of Evermore for the Super Nintendo. Secret of Evermore is an action role-playing game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was released by Square in North America in October of 1995. Secret of Evermore is a unique game in Square's library in that it was their only game developed by Square developers in North America. The story follows a boy and his pet dog as they are unexpectedly sent to the fantasy world of Evermore. The player controls both the boy and his shape-shifting dog through Evermore, a world that is composed of separate realms, each resembling a different period of real-world history. The gameplay for this game was directly influenced by Square's earlier action RPG, Secret of Mana. It shares the same top-down view, similar controls, and a familiar menu system. The player uses 4 different styles of weapons throughout the game: sword, spear, axe, and bazooka. A unique gameplay element present in this game is its magic system. In order to cast magic, you must first learn the recipe, and then locate all needed ingredients. This aspect of the game also utilizes another feature of the dog. He can sniff out ingredients. Secret of Evermore features an excellent visual style with detailed sprites, animation, and backgrounds. The music is also very well composed, and the sound effects are well made too. All in all, the game received positive reviews upon release from most reviewers. If you enjoyed Secret of Mana or other similar games, such as Legend of Zelda, I highly recommend you play this game. I hope you enjoyed this list and feel inspired to try out some of these games. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and as always, keep on gaming.